San Diego is considered a hub for cancer research, work that has helped drive the cancer rate down by 20% in the United States. But progress in finding cures for cancer and other diseases is at risk unless Congress can avert across-the-board federal cuts known as sequestration, scheduled to take effect March 1st. Joining me are researcher Dr. Thomas Kipps of Moores Cancer Center at UC San Diego and Jimmy Jackson, Vice President of BIOCOM, a life sciences trade group. Dr. Kipps, what kind of research do you do, and how important is federal funding for that work?
Well, my work actually specializes in leukemia, and one type of leukemia, chronic lymphocytic leukemia, that is the most common adult leukemia in the United States. And the work that we're doing is to try and find ways of trying to treat patients that previously did not seem to have any treatment options available. The NIH has been critical for funding research that has given us new insights into what causes the disease, what causes its progression, and now we have developed new targets for therapy which are really now bearing fruit in the clinic. It's very gratifying to see patients that formerly would not have had very many options for treatment now receiving treatment that has made their lives much more livable, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to achieve a cure for this disease.
Jimmy, if sequestration happens, how will research by Dr. Kipps be affected and work done by other science labs in San Diego?
Well, if the NIH cuts happen, a lot of the research dollars will go away. I mean, there are estimates that the NIH will be reduced by about 5% in their total research budget, and it's hard to tell exactly who's going to get cut. But in San Diego, in the life sciences community in San Diego supports 42,000 jobs and a $12 billion direct economic impact. A lot of that is in the research and development and the research institute area. So that is going to be a tremendous impact, not just on the life sciences community, but on the whole regional economy in San Diego.
Dr. Kipps, what's the ultimate effect on the public and on current and future cancer patients?
Well, I think what the sequestration might provide for is an interruption on research that's ongoing. And it's not just a temporary stoppage of events, but there actually may be projects which are put on hold, which might take considerable time to revamp. What might be lost are opportunities over the short term, but as we were talking about earlier, the prospect that we might be influencing decisions of bright, young, talented researchers in the future who might make critical decisions about whether to pursue a career in biomedical research. I feel very privileged to be involved in biomedical research, but obviously our young scientists that are looking at whether this is a career that they can use to continue on, they may opt out, and so therefore we may be also sacrificing some of the next generation of scientists that might be very important for developing the cures of tomorrow.
Jimmy, how real do you see these cuts, and what are you doing, what is your group doing to lobby lawmakers to avert these cuts?
These cuts, or the threat of these cuts, is very, very real, and we have a representative in Washington who has been lobbying Congress about the importance, trying to educate them on what will happen with these cuts, and also trying to find champions who will help us minimize the impact if the sequestration cuts happen. There was a bill introduced last week by a representative from Washington State that would say that the NIH, because of the work they do is so important, would be exempted from the cuts for a 6-month period. So it's not a broad-based 10-year exemption, but it's just a temporary thing to make sure that some of the critical research that's happening in labs like Dr. Kipps, in our research institutes and in our clinics can go on uninterrupted.
Dr. Kipps, is there another source to replace federal funding? What about private funding?
Well, I think the American public has been very generous through philanthropy, and we do have very important organizations such as the American Cancer Society, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, the Lymphoma Research Foundation. However, these are actually supplying just a small fraction of the amount of research dollars that are used in biomedical research. The NIH has really been the bulwark for research activities throughout the country. And I think a significant cutback there is going to affect dramatically the ability to conduct research in not only San Diego but also elsewhere.
And very quickly, how do you prepare for impending cuts?
Well, I'm optimistic. I'm very hopeful that our congressmen, senators, and even the administration will see that this is not something that can be sustained, that it might do damage not only for the short term, but for the longer term. And I think saner heads will prevail. So I'm optimistic that there will be solutions found at the 11th hour. I'm hopeful that we don't have to engage in these cuts because I don't think we can even envisage what the ramifications are going to be.
Dr. Kipps, Jimmy Jackson, we have to close it there. Thank you for coming on the program
Well,
and
thank you
speaking
very
to us.
much.
Thank you.